各位歡迎今日嚟到呢一個海濱事務委員會同埋發展局咧一同舉辦，為咗成立呢一個海濱管理局所舉行嘅第3場公眾論壇嘅。今日咧首先等我介紹下為我哋主講嘅嘉賓先。首先呢係我哋海濱事務委員會公眾參與嘅核心小組主席吳永順先生。咁接着落嚟咧，亦都有我哋海濱事務委員會嘅主席蒲祿祺先生 ，Our Chairman Mr. Nicholas Broke。咁接住落嚟咧，亦都有我哋海濱事務委員會嘅秘書姜梁穎儀女士。咁姜女士咧，亦都係我哋發展局嘅首席助理秘書長，係負責海港事務嘅。咁首先喺開始呢個公眾論壇之前呢，就等我賣少少膏藥嚇，即係希望咧今日我哋俾大家入場嘅時候咧，有一個 Information Digest 嘅有一個公眾諮詢嘅資料摘要，咁入邊咧亦都夾附咗一份問卷，咁希望咧各位可以幫我哋填一填份問卷，響完成嘅時候咧交翻出去俾 counter， 咁我哋會有一個少少嘅紀念品送翻俾大家，係一個首日封嚟嘅。咁好啦，接住落嚟咧，我首先邀請公眾參與活動小組嘅主席吳永順先生幫我哋講幾句説話先，唔該。
好，咁多位早晨，我係吳永順啦。咁歡迎大家。今日係好多謝大家一個星期六嘅早上。同我哋一齊去參與討論呢個海濱管理局嘅成立嘅一個公眾參與活動。咁我哋自從喺10月4號開始咧，我哋已經展開咗第一階段嘅公眾參與。咁今日已經係第3場嘅論壇。我哋過去都除咗做呢個論壇之外，我哋一直都有走訪不同嘅區議會啦，同商界嘅組織啦，同埋一啲專業團體咧係會面，我哋都聽取咗好多嘅意見。我哋希望今日咧係繼續聽取大家嘅意見嚇。咁今日係即係我同阿 Nick 都會分別用廣東話同埋英文咧係做呢一個嘅論壇。咁如果大家需要有嗰個翻譯嘅設備咧，咁呢度係可以供應，我後面有即時翻傳譯嘅。咁所以以下落嚟咧就轉英文啦。咁我請阿 Nick 講幾句。Yes, Nick.
Good morning, everybody. Very warm welcome. Thank you in particular for giving up your time on a Saturday morning. It's a beautiful day out there. I would love to be walking and running, and I'm sure you probably would as well. But thank you for coming. I'm sure that you share the vision that the Harbourfront Commission does, that we want to create here in Hong Kong an attractive and a vibrant and most particularly an accessible and a sustainable harbourfront. This is what today's exercise is all about. The reality is we're not getting there. We haven't got there. There's a lot to be done. And the Harbourfront Commission and indeed the government is of the view that if we are to deliver the quality waterfront that we all aspire to, then we need effectively what I describe as a delivery and a management agency. We need a harbourfront authority. Because what we all aspire to and what we all want to achieve is this quality waterfront. And there is the need for an overarching body, if you like, which will take responsibility for designing, developing, managing and operating the waterfront in a holistic manner. This is the view of the Commission. At the moment we do things through government, through government agents, through government departments. It is what we describe as a design, build, build and operate model, but it's very piecemeal and it's not delivering the outcomes that I think we all aspire to. So the recommendation of the Commission, and this is why we're engaging with you, is that we create this authority to deliver this quality waterfront. The present system is not viable, it's not working, and there is a bottleneck which we need to shake loose. We've studied models overseas, we've studied models here in Hong Kong in terms of authorities and organizations. We believe there are principles that we can adopt and we can use from these organizations, but essentially what we're suggesting in the consultation document is what I describe as a Hong Kong tailored model. In other words, we're not taking something off the shelf, if you like. We are proposing to create something which is tailored specifically to Hong Kong. And we're recommending, as you see, the creation of a dedicated statutory authority which will be visionary, it will be mission-driven, and it will be able to combine advocacy with execution. All of these are very important components if we're to take the proposal forward. We believe the community shares our aspirations, but clearly we need to be sure of that, and this is why we're here today, to engage with you, to listen to your views as to what you think, first of all, what you think should be on the waterfront and what quality waterfront you aspire to, and then also your views on how we should achieve that objective. But thank you again for coming and joining us, and we look forward to your thoughts during the morning. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Nick. 以下落嚟咧，我就請Winnie 秘書處同我哋講一講即係一啲背景嘅資料啊。
各位早晨，咁咧其實頭先Vincent 同埋Nick 咧其實都講咗好多，即係我哋對於海濱嘅願景啊等等，即係希望將來會發展成點。咁其實咧喺呢個海濱發展裏邊咧，其實過去10年間咧，其實都做咗好多嘢啦。咁亦都有好多背景，可能即係在座各位未必好清楚。咁我希望可以用短短大約10分鐘度咧，講一講其實即係呢個建議嘅一啲背景緣起同埋一啲內容。咁希望可以幫到大家即係接咗落嚟嘅一個討論。咁開始之前，咁我諗首先都要即係講一講，咁其實我哋究竟即係對於即係海濱嘅願景係啲乜嘢啦？咁維港就係我哋香港嘅象徵啦。咁我哋其實希望咧就係我哋嘅理想，希望可以優化維港同埋嘅海濱用地啦。締造一個富吸引力、朝氣蓬勃、暢達同埋可持續發展嘅一個世界級資產。咁維港海濱咁其實講緊啲乜嘢咧？咁即係以往我哋其實喺去過唔同嘅論壇或者唔同嘅場合咧，都有人問我哋，咁其實你講即係都會講到話係咪即係香港見到嘅水就係等於係即係維港咧？其實就唔係嘅，維港有一個即係法定嘅一個定義。咁喺我哋法例下邊，如果大家見到圖上面睇到啦，喺東面咧就係筲箕灣啦條直線去到鯉魚門啦，喺西面就係堅尼地城去到青衣，然後再去荃灣嗰邊嘅。咁喺呢一個範圍裏邊，我哋就稱之為係維多利亞港啦。咁咩叫做維港海濱咧？咁其實維港海濱有73公里咁長嘅，大家可能唔知道咁有咁長嘅一個海濱用地啦。咁我哋平時講緊海濱用地係啲咩地方咧？其實大約就係喺我哋嘅海岸線對入嘅腹地啦，大約係第一條嘅大街嘅。咁大家希望大家知道我哋講緊嘅維港海濱係咩地方？即係接住落嚟我哋討論會比較清晰一啲。咁喺過去嗰即係香港嘅發展裏邊啦，咁香港嘅即係土地其實都非常之有限，即係山多地少啦。咁填海亦都係佔咗我哋即係過去歷史一個好重要嘅一個部分嚟嘅。咁喺過去咁多年間，我哋填海填出嚟做咩咧？咁機場啦，我哋嘅金融中心啦，我哋嘅道路啦、基建啦等等。咁其實即係接近一半嘅維港咧係填咗嘅，其實過去。咁我哋一路都唔知道究竟我哋嗰個最終嗰個海岸線係會喺邊一度。咁直至到2004年嘅時候就係一個轉捩點。咁當時大家如果記得，大概10年前度咧，就係一個維港嘅官司，就係中環灣仔填海嘅一個官司。咁自此之後，咁即係政府亦都高調咁樣發出聲明，就話做完嗰個填海工程之後咧，咁喺維港裏邊咧，我哋就唔再填海啦。咁 我哋最終我哋可以知道我哋嗰個維港嘅海岸線係去到邊度啦。咁過去10年間其實做過啲咩呢？咁我哋都希望可以將我哋嗰個對於維港嗰個理想、對於願景去成為一個現實啦。咁通過唔同嘅即係策略同埋方針去做嘅。咁首先就係話其實過去10年間，可能大家都見到一個轉變嘅。我哋由過去好多時話將一個已經煲熟咗嘅一個方案，或者一啲好詳細嘅即係方案咧。去做一啲好傳統嘅一啲諮詢咧，到我哋而家去規劃我哋嘅海濱或者去做嘅時候咧，我哋都會融入咗好多公眾嘅參與嘅。咁而喺2004年成立嘅共建維港委員會，同埋後來喺2010年取締佢成立嘅一個海濱事務委員會咧，其實都係一個與民共議、共同規劃嘅一個好嘅例子嚟嘅。喺呢個委員會裏邊咧，就其實係一個好廣泛性嘅一個有一個好廣泛嘅代表性啦。咁我哋有專業學會啦，亦都有一啲政府嘅代表啦，有商界嘅代表啦，有地區嘅代表等等。咁我哋都會透過一個幾公開、幾透明嘅平台，咁就希望可以即係喺個規劃海濱嘅過程裏邊咧，係融入更多市民嘅意見。咁喺過去即係兩任嘅行政長官咧，其實喺佢施政報告裏邊咧都有提到對於即係優化維港嘅一啲承諾嘅。咁唔單止係一啲即係政策上嘅即係支持或者係方針啦，其實喺發展局下邊咧，亦都成立咗一個海港組，即係我哋 Harbour Unit 啦，去統籌政府所有一啲海濱發展嘅工作嘅。咁而喺2010年嘅時候咧，亦都係發出咗一個總務通告，係由財政司司長去發出嘅，通用於全個政府。就係要喺政府裏邊做一啲海濱嘅工作嘅project 嘅時候咧，亦都需要好好咁樣去諮詢公眾啦，同埋亦都要參考海濱事務委員會嘅意見。咁喺全港同埋地區層次方面啦，咁其實喺前共建維港委員會亦都為我哋即係做咗一個好堅實嘅平台，就係佢做咗一個海港規劃原則同埋一個海港規劃指引。咁而呢一個原則同埋指引咧，其實到現時都非常之通用嘅。咁係包括係政府啦，同埋我哋業界咧，都常常都會用到呢一個規劃原則嘅。咁喺地區方面咧，規劃署亦都做咗唔同地區嘅一啲海濱規劃啦。咁包括譬如中環新海濱啊、紅磡啊、港島東啊等等。咁唔單止係規劃嘅，咁其實我哋亦都咧係根據咗前共建維港委員會嘅意見啦，就成立咗22個行動區，而政府亦都咧根據呢22個行動區咧，就分短中長期咧逐步推展唔同嘅海濱工作嘅。咁過去即係10年間啦，咁其實做咗唔少嘅大型嘅海濱規劃啦，包括即係中環新海濱、啟德發展、西九龍文化區。大型嘅規劃之餘，其實我哋都好重視，希望可以盡快讓到市民可以享用到海濱。所以其實喺過去嗰咁多年間呢，其實都做咗好多啲短期嘅項目嘅，我哋叫 quick wins 啦。咁咧就喺香港同埋九龍兩邊咧，其實都做咗唔少嘅海濱嘅工作嘅。咁講幾個例子啦，咁中西區咁其實就有一個即係原本係用作抽水站嘅一個地方，咁就經過即係一番嘅諮詢討論之後，咁我哋將呢個抽水站亦都騰出一啲地方出嚟，係做一個即係海濱長廊啦，咁希望可以市民都用得到嘅。觀塘海濱花園咁就原本佢前身係一個公眾貨物裝卸區嚟嘅，咁呢個貨物裝卸區亦都因為即係香港嗰個發展工業發展方面亦都有一個轉變啦，咁亦都會搬走啦。咁但係由呢個搬走至到真係可以發展成一個海濱用地，其實都需要一啲幾長嘅時間。咁我哋見到一個契機啦，咁所以亦都盡早開展咗一個前期嘅工程，咁就開展咗一個海濱花園第一期嘅工程啦。咁而家其實已經建成，亦都係一個非常之受公眾歡迎嘅一個即係海濱嘅公園啦。 咁得到公眾支持，咁當然我哋都推展咗即係海濱花園第2期。咁其實去到下年年尾咧，就已經有接近1公里嘅海濱咧，海濱公園咧就會喺觀塘呢個地方出現嘅。咁紅磡啦，紅磡其實有一個短期項目咧，就看似好少嘅，其實500米嘅一個海濱即係長廊，但係佢有一個極大意義嘅，因為佢係打通咗由尖沙咀天星碼頭直至去到呢個紅磡嘅海濱，原本就係爭咗呢500米嘅海濱咧，令到即係公眾可能要行入去好遠嘅地方先兜到去黃埔嗰邊。咁開展咗呢個短期項目就打通咗即係呢一個紅磡嘅海濱長廊。海裕街嘅海濱長廊啦，咁呢個其實個特色係啲咩咧？其實因為有個公私營嘅合作，原本其實有一個隧道嘅用地啦，咁佢就啱啱塞住咗，即係呢個海邊嘅。咁我哋同佢哋一番商議之後，咁佢釋出咗6米嘅一個海濱啦，令到我哋可以打通咗呢個ตั๋魚涌，一路直至可以去到大家所知去到北角同埋係呢個筲箕灣就可以打通咗呢個海濱長廊。咁除咗做海濱長廊之外，咁其實即係我哋個短期項目咧，即係都唔單止係做一個單單做海濱即係長廊咁簡單嘅。咁我哋都希望可以即係加入一啲即係活力啦，同埋多樣性。希望喺長期發展之前呢，可以有一啲即係活力帶去我哋嘅海濱，令我哋嘅市民可以盡早享用嘅。咁中環新海濱係一個例子啦。咁係早前其實上個月尾啦，咁旅發局喺度搞咗一個香港美食佳肴巡禮啦，咁而其實嚟緊呢個月尾咧，亦都有一個港樂星嘅交響曲，就係 Symphony Under the Stars，咁都會喺我哋中環新海濱嗰度會舉行嘅。咁其實海濱都有好多挑戰嘅。頭先我所講啦，即係我哋講緊外海濱咧，其實有73公里咁長，咁但係咧唔係白紙一張。過去嗰100年間，其實喺沿住海岸線亦都有好多嘅發展。其實我哋啲用地包括係用喺商業啦、工業啦、住宅啦、道路基建，或者我哋一啲公共嘅設施啦。咁其實都已經有好多已經發展咗嘅用地，就唔係我哋可以話隨時攞翻嚟去做一個海濱發展咁容易嘅。咁地區工作嘅同事可能都會知道啦。咁其實我哋海港咧，亦都唔係單止係做一個即係leisure 嘅一個海港嚟嘅。其實我哋亦都係有好多即係海港嘅作業係一個 working harbour。咁呢個亦都係我哋唔能夠話將一啲即係而家現時作業嘅一啲用者咧係趕走，而係做一個海濱即係海濱嘅即係康樂活動嘅功能。所以我哋其實要好睇得到點樣去平衡兩者之間嗰個工作。咁除咗我哋唔係白紙一張之外啦，咁其實喺過去9年間，咁其實都見到有好多挑戰嘅，就係我哋如果要建成一條即係海濱長廊咧，簡單一條海濱長廊其實都可能要大約5年嘅時間去規劃到興建到可以開放俾公眾用。咁呢個係未計咧，如果我哋假設要同即係其他嘅項目去競逐資源，包括醫院啊、學校啊、其他文娛設施啊等等。咁如果需要同啲地方競逐資源嘅話，咁可能嗰個即係需時係會更長咯。咁另一方面就係我哋其實所有現時嘅即係海濱公園或者海濱長廊咧，其實都係交由康文署去管理嘅。咁而康文署咧，亦都有一套比較標準嘅設計同埋即係一致嘅管理方式啦。咁亦都令到其實喺一啲一般嘅地區公園咁，其實冇問題嘅呢一個情況。但係如果對於一啲有潛力嘅海濱用地嘅時候，我哋再係用一個康文署公園管理嘅模式，係咪最適合呢？咁呢個我哋都發現其實係有一啲掣肘嘅。咁當然即係有挑戰，亦都有機遇啦。咁喺頭先我哋所講即係維港官司之後，咁我哋維港填海官司之後，咁我哋都講過話，即係做完中環灣仔呢個填海之後，咁其實我哋會釋出咗大片即係新嘅海濱用地嘅。咁我哋覺得呢一片用地即係亦都有一個好大嘅潛力可以去發揮嘅。咁 咁所以我哋覺得呢個我哋點樣可以把握呢個機遇去釋放呢一啲即係新嘅海濱用地嘅一啲潛力呢？咁成立一個專責嘅海濱管理局係咪一個出路呢？咁我哋其實頭先阿 Nick 同埋 Vincent 都有講過，我哋都有過去嗰9年間其實都有參考過海外一啲例子啦。咁我哋見到一啲成功嘅海濱都有一個特色嘅，佢哋都有一個專責嘅機構去負責規劃、建造、營運、到推廣嘅。咁即係咁，究竟我哋係唔係都應該有一個專責嘅機構去睇我哋嘅海濱呢？咁大家手上嘅即係我哋嘅資料摘要啦，都睇到。咁我哋心目中嘅一個好獨立專責嘅一個海濱管理局呢，我哋希望佢可以有啲乜嘢嘅條件，或者有啲乜嘢嘅要求呢？就我哋希望佢可以一手找啦，由規劃、設計、發展到營運，可以全面咁樣去睇呢件事嘅，可以用一個地方營造 placemaking 嘅模式去管理我哋嘅海濱啦，可以減少咗官僚繁複啦，可以增加更多嘅公眾參與啦。咁最重要就係可以平衡到即係社會目標同埋即係商業營運呢方面嘅找到一個平衡啦。咁由於其實海濱用地係非常之珍貴，亦都即係用到好多公眾嘅資源啦。咁所以亦都需要有一定嘅公眾嘅監察嘅。咁呢一方面，我哋都希望呢個機構可以即係達到以下嘅條件嘅。咁我哋喺即係諗呢一個海濱發展海濱管理局嘅時候，咁我哋都睇過唔同嘅一啲可行嘅方法啦。咁呢啲唔係一啲唯一嘅方法，但係我哋亦都希望有一啲即係職能上可以有一啲大致上嘅可行方案，可以俾大家作出一個討論嘅，包括譬如管治管理方面啦，諮詢同埋倡導角色方面啦。咁譬如究竟即係而家現時海濱事務委員會作為一個諮詢架構，繼續保留啊，定係交由呢個管理局去即係之後去處理呢？喺行政職能方面，咁究竟我哋需要一個即係獨立嘅行政機關，定係由一個公務員隊伍調配嘅一個專責辦事處去協調呢？咁即係呢個都係值得大家去即係呢初步作出一啲討論嘅。咁我哋都希望可以透過呢個第一階段，可以知道即係大家對於邊一個模式會比較即係喜歡啦，或者覺得邊個比較即係適合香港嘅發展。咁呢個亦都係我哋第一階段希望大家可以俾到我哋嘅一啲嘅意見嘅。咁我而家試嘅時間交翻俾阿 Vincent 啦。
好啊，多謝 Winnie。海濱規劃、管理、設計、營運係加上維港海濱全長73公里，其實係一個相當複雜嘅課題。我哋喺香港，我記得上一次較為熱烈嘅討論呢，應該就係04年講緊填海官司，就維港應唔應該填海嚇。但係我哋今日嚇維港已經係唔再填海，海岸線已經定咗。咁我哋相信呢，應該呢個討論係要進化到呢，唔係填與唔填嘅問題，而係點樣可以令到呢個海濱係更加具吸引力嚇，更加係朝氣蓬勃，更加呢係即係代表到香港嚇。咁過去9年喺共建維港委員會同埋海濱事務委員會嘅工作，我哋睇到當我哋不斷咁樣去將呢73公里嘅好似一套拼圖咧，jigsaw puzzle 咁不斷咁樣一塊一塊咁砌嘅時候呢，我哋睇到即係乜嘢係做到，乜嘢係做唔到。我哋參照過外國嘅經驗，睇到就係話有一樣嘢人哋有嘅，我哋係冇嘅，就係話喺我哋現行嘅政府架構之下呢，係並冇一個嘅專責嘅部門呢係主打咧呢個海濱嘅。咁所以我哋就有一個咁樣嘅成立海濱管理局嘅理念。咁所以今日嚟到嘅就係話，我哋同大家展開一個我哋叫做第一階段嘅諮詢， 咁當然成立一個海濱管理局會有一連串嘅即係嘢要去考慮啦，譬如包括就係話個詳細架構啊、管理局嘅權力啊、職能啊、財務安排、土地事宜、保障公眾利益同埋確保問責性、個董事會嘅組成嚇，咁呢啲呢，其實都係一啲好深且闊嘅一啲問題。咁嗰個我哋會跟住喺第二階段咧，都會同大家去討論。咁所以此一刻我哋就希望咧，第一階段就講多啲係比較理念性啦，即係一啲願景啦，咁同埋即係你哋覺得嗰個海濱管理局應該係點樣運作啦，或者你對於維港海濱有啲咩嘅意見呢？我今日都會喺呢個場度呢，係讓大家一齊討論。而我哋強調就係呢個討論呢係互動嘅，唔係單向嘅咁所以即係唔係一個問答嘅模式，而係可以整個場地開放讓大家去即係自由咁討論。好啦，咁我以下時間交翻俾阿 Fred 去即係場地就會開放俾大家去自由發表㗎啦。OK。
好，各位若果有任何嘅意見或者問題或者交流想做嘅話呢，咁麻煩你可以首先舉一舉手，咁我哋嘅同事呢係會將支咪呢遞去你嗰邊嘅。
Yes.
Morning. My name's Roy Barretto. Is there a draft form of words for the duties and objectives of the proposed authority for its ordinance? Because it seems to me that that's very important in order to crystallize our thinking. I mean, just looking at page 16 of your booklet, there seems to me many things which we could put into such a draft, such as carrying out and enforcing the harbour ordinance, advocacy, going to the town planning board, for example, and working there, and a number of other overarching objectives which need to be identified early, such as, for example, implementing international principles for conservation of natural and cultural heritage, and so on. I mean, these are key things which need to be identified now, and I'm just wondering, do you have such draft objectives and duties, and if so, could we have a look? Thank you.
Thanks, Roy. Nick, do you want to have a brief response?
I think the honest answer is that this is the reason we're here with you today. We're here to listen. We're here to secure your thoughts, if you like, on what you think should be written into the articles, if you like, and the terms of reference. So, I mean, the sort of suggestions and comments you're making, I think, are very helpful. Essentially, at this stage, we're of the view that this should be an all-encompassing organisation, if I may put it that way, that it should have responsibility for the planning, the design, the implementation and the management and operation of the waterfront. Now, I agree that's fairly broad, but that's where we're coming from. We think there is the need for this holistic approach to the planning, design and operation of the waterfront. We don't have that holistic approach, and hence the discussion today. But as I said, if you have, I mean, you might want just to flesh out some of the things we've just been suggesting, and we can take those with us. Certainly, those ideas have been discussed at the Commission and can be encompassed in the terms of reference. But if you have further thoughts, you might like just to share those with us today.
Thank you. Welcome, Roy. 其他有冇意見或者問題想討論嘅？係後邊先，後邊有一位灰色衫。
我姓李嘅，係獨木舟總會嘅。咁剛才頭先個介紹咧，亦睇到咧呢個海濱事務委員會喺短短幾年間咧，其實做咗好多嗰啲短期嘅 project， 都對公眾啊、對市民都係好有幫助嘅。咁我睇到咧，如果俾政府或者呢個 LCSD 做呢啲工程咧， 咁需要嘅時間好長，或者冇辦法打破佢哋政府官僚嘅制度嘅。咁我係好支持咧，能夠成立一個海濱呢個管理局嘅。咁呢個管理局咧，我希望亦好似一個機場 Airport Authority 咁樣有獨立嘅運作，完全可以自己獨立運作，管理出租佢嘅設施。咁亦希望透過呢個運作咧，令到維園啦或者海濱啦能夠有多樣化嘅活動嚟吸引市民。咁頭先我亦睇到你哋介紹咧，就係完全係講海濱嘅。咁我唔知呢個海濱有冇諗埋個海咧？個海其實同海濱好有關係嘅。咁我記得好多幾十年前咧，城門河嗰度咧，亦有一啲叫做pressure craft 啊嗰啲艇仔咧，by tender 租出去嘅，俾市民嘅。雖然後期因為個環境啊、水質啊唔係太好咧，唔能夠太成功。咁有冇呢個海濱管理局或者將來海濱管理局咧，會唔會諗到利用水啊，有啲水上活動嘅活動喺度咧，令到維園啊更加活潑啊，更加能夠令到多啲市民參與啊？多謝。
好多謝李先生關注嗰個水面嘅活動一陣間我哋可以一併回應下前邊Michael。
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Michael Lynch from West Kowloon Cultural Authority. I clearly see that endorsing the concept is really important. The idea that a 5-year time frame for doing simple projects on the harbour is just no longer acceptable, I think, in terms of the changing evolution of both the harbour, the city and Hong Kong's competitive position with other cities. If you look at projects taking place in many cities that have not nearly as good harbours but are heavily focused on developing those harbours. If you look at Toronto, you look at Vancouver, you look at Sydney, you look at Brisbane, for just a couple of examples that people may be aware of. The idea of a dedicated authority taking responsibility to move those projects forward is incredibly important. And I think the notion that it takes 5 years to do a simple project really is something that Hong Kong can no longer afford. If we look at taking West Kowloon 5 years forward, but we still have not solved the links, the connectivity issues, the transport issues, the mix of what is commercial and what is public space issues around our 2.2 kilometres of harbour or of harbour front, then I think it will imperil the future development of the project. So I would support very much the notion of an authority with the all-encompassing powers to be able to drastically limit the time frames going forward and to take that holistic approach, which will sit alongside projects like the West Kowloon project or the Kai Tak project or any of the other projects. I think it would also just be valuable for us to understand of that 73 kilometres of waterfront, how much of it is a no-go issue in terms of changes over the course of the next 5, 10 or 20 years, so that we have a really clear understanding of what is feasible, what is practicable and what is going to be economically sustainable. Thank you.
Oh. Thanks, Michael. Well, we'll come back to you in a while. 有冇其他隔離Bonnie？
Thank you, Chairman. 今日廣東話 session， 所以我講返廣東話啦嚇。我想問咧，如果呢一個 authority 第一，如果 set up 咗，你哋係咪好似我哋咁，都係要sit under 一個政府嘅局啊？第二，如果呢一個 authority 你個 timeline for setting up 即係呢一個authority 係幾長呢？第三 set up 咗之後呢，譬如我哋西九就喺度，我哋都喺個海邊嗰度呢都有相當即係嘢要做，功夫要做。咁我哋同呢一個如果 set up 到嘅海濱管理局係點樣interface 或者點樣大家合作呢？ 該。
好多謝阿 Bonnie 西九管理局嘅一啲問題啦。其實你嘅問題可能都我哋都有興趣聽下你自己有啲咩嘅意見嘅因為事實上維港73公里嘅海濱，我哋強調就係話其實佢係散佈喺唔同嘅地方，咁各有佢嘅特色，或者各有佢嘅現行嘅管理。我相信今天嘅西九管理局都唔會話你嘅管理係唔包嗰2.3個 kilometre 嘅海濱㗎，係啦。咁所以即係話其實會有好多情況嘅嘅 interface， 即係一啲界線嘅問題嚇。咁我呢個其實喺呢一刻我哋係未有一個定案。我哋深知道就係73公里嘅地方係相當大嘅地方嚇。正如頭先 Michael 所講，就話其實有一啲可能喺呢一刻我哋睇到係一個叫 no-go area 嚇，譬如貨櫃場嚇。咁或者我哋過去亦都頭先 Winnie 嗰個介紹都係有好多地方佢係屬於私人土地嚇。咁或者有一啲係現有已經有一啲機構管理緊，譬如西九管理局嚇。咁初成立嘅海濱管理局如果係公眾贊成嘅話，佢未必會第一時間將73個 kilometre 嘅海濱完全 take over， 因為坦白講，如果你一次過 take over 73個 kilometre， 即刻話要做晒佢呢，其實係自己攞嚟搞彎嘅啫，係因為你冇可能，因為事實上我哋過去9年睇到有好多面對緊好多嘅問題，所以呢一刻大家想像嘅就係話，究竟如果大家同意一個成立管理局嘅理念，究竟佢第一步行出去要做幾多嘢呢？嗱，做幾多嘢亦都牽涉幾多資源嘅問題嚇。即係如果社會都有意見認為，如果你係話要攞咗個社會好多資源嘅話，而做嘅嘢仍然係舉步維艱嘅時候呢，可能個社會亦都未必接受嚇。咁所以我哋初步嘅睇法，即係海濱事務委員會嘅一個建議就係話，會由中環灣仔出發嚇，因為嗰度又係會有一啲喺2016年。中環就會完成佢嗰個填海工程，中環灣仔繞道喺18至20年佢亦都會完成個工程。咁會有一啲新鮮嘅土地，現時未有康文署去管理，或者未有任何嘅機構去管理呢，咁就可以喺中環灣仔啲地方呢，係去做咗一個嘅海濱嘅建設。咁就希望係用到，即係我哋一路以嚟嗰個即係朝氣蓬勃富生命力多元化，即係呢一個願景。倘若做得成功，得到公眾嘅支持呢，先至去擴展到其他地方嚇。咁所以我哋都想聽下西九管理局有啲咩嘅諗法啦。因為 so far 喺我哋嘅計劃裏面呢，係唔會係話同西九管理局嗰個地方去有任何嘅重疊㗎，係啊。好啊，咁。我哋一陣再互動去，你又俾翻啲反應我啊，係啦。咁有冇其他嘅朋友想表達？
Could I just add to what Vincent's been saying, because I think there is a positive aspect to this. 70% of that 73 kilometres is still owned and controlled and occupied by government. So 50 kilometres is still within our control, if you like, or within the opportunity, represents the opportunity. Elsewhere in the world, most of the waterfront with harbours has been given away, sold away, etc. So we have no excuse. This really is a unique opportunity to create something very special. Clearly, we have to do things in a phased manner, and that's certainly what's envisaged, and Vincent was talking about that. What we envisage is that the authority would first tackle what we call the greenfield sites, the sites where there's been no action so far, so Central, Wan Chai, working through to Causeway Bay. There's obviously potential at Kai Tak. There's potential along the Hung Hom waterfront. So those would be the early priorities. But over time, the idea would be that in a successive way, the different areas of waterfront will be vested in the authority, and the authority would take control. In terms of interface, I mean, I would see us working very closely with West Kowloon. I would see the new authority working very closely with West Kowloon. Indeed, we might even become your agent to look after your waterfront for you. I mean, there are different ways of obviously organising things going forward. So clearly there will be the need to work together, but I think we share a common ambition and a common appetite, if you like. Thank you.
OK， thank you。頭先文議員係一陣間前面呢位係。
早晨，係嚟自中西區區議會嘅文志華。咁咧就中西區咧就向個海濱咧就都係比較特殊嘅，因為我哋有新嘅一橛，即係啱啱新填好嘅準備嚇，開始做嘢嘅中環嗰邊啦。但係亦都有舊區嗰邊咧，就係西環啊咁樣樣。咁呢度咧，我哋就面對到唔同嘅困難嘅。咁新嗰邊咧就可能即係都仲要慢慢仲可以傾啊。而家我哋西環嗰邊咧，其實我哋嗰個願景咧一路都係南北就係能夠貫通啦，就東西貫通啦，南北就暢達啦。咁但係其實就呢度咧就已經係我哋面對嘅第一個困難啦，就係話好多時我哋係因為已經係發展咗區，我哋就要點樣做多啲路出去咧，亦都係有一定嘅困難。譬如我哋中山公園做得咁好，咁但係我哋只得一條天橋由東邊街出去，咁同埋即係如果唔係嘅話，就由順德嗰邊行過嚟。咁所以其實我哋都面對咧，即係話發展咗個海濱，我哋仲可以點樣能夠真係用到佢？咁呢度咧，所以即係我自己個人嚟講咧，就係我哋響面對西區嗰度咧，因為已經係太多唔同部門用緊嘅地方咧，我哋要商討攞翻嚟。咁譬如我哋最近嘅社區重點項目，我哋商討去攞呢個西區副食品市場嗰一個發展嗰個地方發展咧。咁其實我哋都要即係同好多部門咧，就係商議啊、傾啊，咁然後先至能夠即係將件事係初步咁傾得到出嚟。咁所以我哋覺得咧就即係有一個咁嘅統一嘅 authority 咧，去統籌咧，咁變咗咧就響各個部門嗰個即係傾啊、成啊，就我相信係會達到一定嘅即係幫助嘅。咁不過咧，當然就係嗰個demarcation 要清楚啦，究竟佢能夠做到幾多嘢咧？譬如頭先我講到嗰個暢達性嗱，咁我哋個海濱始終都係只係一個再對翻埋嚟一條馬路或者多啲咁多嘅地方，咁對我哋個暢達嗰個發展咧，可能都係有一定嘅困難喺處嘅，因為我哋實際上譬如港島區咧，我哋對埋嚟就係一條高速公路。咁如果你已經俾呢條高速公路閘咗嘅話，已經閘斷咗嘅話，咁呢個 authority 再睇唔到埋嚟嘅話，我哋仍然做唔到呢個暢達性。咁所以呢個亦都即係要搞清楚呢個 demarcation 究竟會係到時能夠管到幾多地區咧？咁呢個我諗要即係成立呢個 authority 嘅時候，可能要考慮呢個地方。咁管理嗰方面咧係同意嘅。頭先 Winnie 講咧就係話我哋而家有啲地方攞咗翻嚟交俾康文署咧，咁係有好多掣肘喺中間嘅。因為康文署佢管理開嘅場地咧，咁可能佢有佢一定嘅標準，但係變咗咧就個彈性亦相對少。咁我哋希望咧就係第日 authority 能夠成立咗，佢有雖然頭先你提到係有一個管理嘅標準，但係希望個彈性大啲。譬如因為頭先好似龍舟會都有提過，我哋其實想用埋個海面嘅。咁其實如果我哋嘅海邊能夠人係能夠落去接觸到海面咧，都係我哋當其時呢10幾年一路傾嘅時候其中一啲願景嚟。咁但係如果你俾康文署管咧，就相對困難啦，因為佢唔係一個海灘咧，你俾人行落去掂到水咧，可能有一定困難。咁所以即係呢啲亦都係可能係將來呢個 authority 要諗嘅一啲嘢。咁仲有咧就係我哋可能挑戰裏面咧，我哋比較講少咗一樣咧，就係頭先都可能有人提到咧，就係話我哋嘅保育啊或者之類咧，同埋個自然嗰方面，究竟係我哋一路發展之中，我哋面對嘅一啲困難，譬如我哋而家一路做緊嘅時候，可能我哋海邊仲係需要有啲 設施啊，譬如泵房啊等等嗰啲，究竟點樣能夠同個海濱配合得到好一啲，使到既有呢啲設備，有人亦都用得到咧？咁我估即係響一路發展嘅時候咧，真係要即係有個 authority 能夠好清晰將呢啲嘢講到俾大眾知，原來有啲咁嘅嘢需要擺喺個海邊嘅，而做到出嚟咧係人哋可以接受得到，唔使好似我哋譬如個軍用碼頭咁，即使係用家咁大嘅寬鬆度，都有好多反對嘅意見，咁就即係做起上嚟咧，就都達唔到一啲目的咯。暫時咁樣先。好，多謝。
好啊，多謝阿文志華議員咁我哋再聽多個 round 先啦。好，前邊黑色衫呢位女士。
Good morning, everybody. I'm William Hopkin from the Hong Kong Cycling Alliance. And I'd just like to say that the vision for the harbourfront and for the harbourfront authority set out on this page mentions a whole number of things strongly supported by the Alliance. That's the creativity and innovativeness in the design of the operations, the easily accessible harbourfront, and the host of other items on this page. We at the Cycling Alliance believe that the Harbourfront Authority can bring these visions to the harbourfront in a way that existing government departments perhaps cannot. And cycling is a very good example. Repeated public engagement, the Cycling Alliance's proposal for a harbourfront cycleway, feedback from Hong Kong News surveys of residents in Central and Western District, public engagement forums have repeatedly expressed positive support among the public for cycling as a means of accessing the harbourfront, as a means of enjoying the harbourfront, and as a way to enable the connectivity along the whole harbourfront. Not only that, it's accessible, it's sustainable. So we would, and the LCSD and the TD's existing approach to cycling is, let us say, not quite as constructive as we hope that a newly established harbourfront authority might be able to achieve, especially in creative and innovative thinking that we hope it can bring. Christine, you have anything to add?
Thanks. Well, I'm Christine, and I'm not a dedicated cyclist, but I do cycle to work once a week, and that's because my work week is so busy. This is my only way to really get exercise. So I'm very a practical cyclist. I'm very lucky to actually be able to cross 3 districts in my cycling day. I live on an outlying island. I take a ferry to Central, and then I take another ferry to Tsim Sha Tsui, and then I cycle to work. And I would like to say that for me as an individual, experiencing the harbor every day has sort of really changed my experience of Hong Kong. I feel so connected to the city, and I think Hong Kong, it really crystallized for me that the harbor really is the gem of Hong Kong. And so I'm starting to really understand how creating this access to the harbor for ordinary people, not necessarily people who need to cycle to work, but certainly for them too, I think that's a real value of developing the harbor front. And I think a big part of that, just to build on from a point made earlier, is not just to increase accessibility to the harbor, but to actually make the harbor front a destination and increase accessibility to the whole harbor for that whole length of harbor front. So really, I know you talk about the 70, is it 73? Yes, 73 kilometers. And I think, and I understand that it's a long stretch, but I really feel that, you know, working toward making it connected from beginning to end for all of Hong Kong will be tremendously beneficial to the city, not just for tourists and visitors, but for residents who live here, and for residents who don't live near the harbourfront. So I just wanted to add that piece that I support the development of the Harbourfront Authority, and I support this vision to connect not just people to the harbour, but across the whole length. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 有冇其他意見？事實上係阿
Connie from Hong Kong Art Centre 係我諗頭先聽咗即係 cycling 嗰度我諗，因為我諗喺Art Centre 嘅層面，咁喺灣仔其實嗰個位置咧係好多人咧，即係我覺得嗰度係 Harbour 係一個好 creative space 嚟嘅，係可以行到去係好重要。咁同埋我諗灣仔本身喺特別喺灣北嗰度，其實係另一個即係 art and creative space。咁我諗點樣即係有咗海濱管理局之後，點樣同到喺灣北嗰度嘅唔同嘅creative and artist space 嘅人一齊嘅合作咧，我諗覺得好重要。咁我諗成件事都係希望嗰個環境咧係更加俾到人好自由喺嗰度咧使用咯。咁我覺得呢個想即係更多嘅明白個海濱管理局係點樣去in the future 係點樣去 develop 嚇。
好，thank you，Connie。OK，剛才都聽咗一 round 嘅意見啦，咁大家都聽到大家對於個管理局嘅意見，咁原則上都大家嘅意見都係冇乜大嘅意見啦嚇。咁或者講翻個願景啦，喺過去咁多年，我哋都無論係做海濱嘅規劃，喺過去9年裏面，亦都有一啲好大型嘅城市規劃，例如啟德，例如中環嘅新海濱，例如西九，例如灣仔嘅海濱嚇。咁近年大家都如果有關心規劃嘅朋友，你都留意到就係話，今先個社會對於嗰個城市規劃嘅關注度係好多，即係佢哋唔會甘心淨係見到一張嘅即係畫咗幾個框嘅規劃圖嚇，而係去真係實地去睇嗰個即係成個城市嘅立體嘅情況，包括樓宇嘅高度啊，一啲設備嘅分佈啊，公共空間點樣使用啊？咁其實呢，喺個大家關注個城市規劃，其實都係有一個較為深化嘅一個要求。咁就算喺啟德、中環或者係過去嘅西九都係有好多嘅公眾參與喺呢一啲嘅即係規劃項目裏面。其實大家討論願景嘅時候都好清楚，就係話我哋嗰個維港海濱呢，必須要係還港於民，係俾即係任公眾人士去即係使用嚇，甚至就係話呢一個地方唔應該唔可以係要俾50蚊先至買到一杯咖啡先至可以使用嚇。咁呢個還港於民啦，與呢一個即係不分階層、人人可享嘅海濱呢，呢個都係一個社會嘅願景嚇。咁呢個海濱係需要係多元化，需要係朝氣蓬勃，需要係有吸引力嚇。可能喺唔同嘅地區嘅海濱，佢有唔同嘅特色嚇。西九文化區嘅海濱可能充滿咗即係文化氣息，有呢個好多嘅表演嘅項目嚇。咁可能中環咁背靠商業區，可能亦都係有多啲嘅食肆商業嘅空間可能去到一啲較為係即係靜嘅住宅區嘅時候，可能係比較休憩嘅設施。呢啲都係大家我聽到喺公眾嘅意見。咁73公里組成一個連綿不絕嘅海濱長廊，九龍由呢個鯉魚門一路去到荃灣香港就由呢一個堅尼地城去到筲箕灣駁通73公里由東至西，呢個係大家嘅一個願景即係呢個係我哋嘅終極目標。嗱，呢個終極目標要做幾耐，幾時先做到，我哋唔知道即係你唔可以定一個時限趕某一啲私人嘅土地走嘅咁可能我哋要諗其他方法，譬如東區有一啲地方，我哋要諗一啲即係喺天橋底去做一啲板道咧，去繞過佢咁。但係73公里去連接一個延綿不絕嘅海濱長廊，絕對係我哋嘅終極目標。除咗東西之外，南北點樣去暢達呢？ 往往都係大家關注嘅問題啦。無論做到個海濱幾好幾有吸引力都好，如果你由地鐵站出唔到去嘅或者喺尖沙咀出咗地鐵站要去文化中心，要過嗰條馬路辛苦到咩咁，跟住要捐咗落個隧道出翻嚟，發現自己喺個商場裏面咁即係呢啲經驗唔係大家想見到嘅咁點樣去做到個暢達性呢？嗰個accessibility 咧，絕對係一個大家關心嘅嘢咁其實要個點樣嘅海濱，點樣連接呢個海濱，南北點連接，東西點連接，絕對睇得出係大家嗰個願景用咩工具去達到我哋睇到就係話用一個海濱管理局，即係作為一個工具呢，係一個可行嘅工具。我哋喺過去嘅討論裏面，去過規劃師學會，咁亦都有啲規劃師同我哋講，我哋香港嘅規劃嘅模式呢係好局限。點解咁講呢？就係話我哋所有海濱嘅土地呢，都會劃成一個叫做 O 一個 O 字，即係 open space， 一個休憩用地嘅地方。咁 O 係咩嘢咧？喺香港嚟講 ，O 咧就即係多數係公園啦。公園就點啊？公園就要由康文署管啦。咁康文署點管啊？康文署咪用呢一個嘅遊樂場條例去管咯。咁遊樂場條例係咩啊？遊樂場條例咪即係每個公園門口貼住嗰個牌，寫住嗰10幾個項嘅遊樂場條例，就係不准唱歌跳舞，不准放飛機放紙鷂，不准踩單車咁所以你單車嘅朋友，你話點解唔准踩單車？其實你去到每個公園睇下門口個牌，你就知道踩單車係例寫住唔准踩嘅咁所以如果嗰個海濱係等於公園，而公園等於康文署，康文署等於遊樂場條例，遊樂場條例就等於不准踩單車，不准放飛機，不准有商業行為呢啲嘢嘅時候，咁其實呢一堆嘢同我哋所願景中嘅海濱呢，係有一個相當大嘅距離咁呢個規劃師就問咗一個問題。你去過新加坡嘅 Marina Bay， 新加坡嘅 Singapore River， 你去 Sydney 嘅 Darling Harbour， 你去 San Francisco 嘅 Pier， 嗰個 Fisherman Wharf， 邊個話俾你聽呢啲嘢係公園嚟㗎？從來冇人講過，即係 Sydney 嗰個 Darling Harbour 係公園嚟㗎。海濱就係一個海濱，海濱就係一個地方咁所以即係如果我哋用緊一個香港我哋過去嘅思維呢個框架就係海濱等於 open space 等於康文署等於嗰啲嘢呢呢一個運作重複又重複嘅時候，其實我哋睇得出，無論我哋做多9年或者9個9年其實我哋跳唔出呢個現有嘅框架咁所以點解會有一個海濱管理局嘅理念呢？就我哋希望係即係當然要大家社會同意啦咁我哋都希望盡量喺呢啲場合去講解點解會有咁嘅理念呢？香港究竟即係過去嗰個制度係點呢？咁社會會唔會同意我哋跳出一個制度呢？因為跳出一個制度，社會會有好多意見嘅喎，社會會驚你呢樣驚你嗰樣咁我哋所以喺呢啲機會都聽下。你哋有咩意見？你哋有咩關注而如何將呢啲關注化成動力呢？去讓我哋可以即係跳出呢一步咁呢個就我初步嘅回應啦。Is there any supplement from you, Nick?
I mean, just to echo, I mean, the drivers behind what we're suggesting today are, first of all, connectivity. I mean, this keeps coming up time and time again. The need to get people to the waterfront, but also to get people along the waterfront. This is clearly a main objective, and if the authority doesn't achieve anything else in the first 5 years, that should be certainly top of the list. Certainly the accessibility and connectivity is a prime driver. Flexibility, again, is a prime driver. This has come up time and time again. The present LCSD model is all about what you can't do. I want to move to a can-do model, if I may put it that way. So we tick the boxes instead of crossing the boxes. And we believe that if the authority has its own bylaws and its own regulatory regime, then it can decide what other priorities are, and it can police and manage the waterfront in a much more flexible manner. And then just picking up Arts Council, we believe that the authority will and should have a very strong social agenda. I mean, yes, we need to provide commercial facilities on the waterfront. Yes, we need to cater to both our visitors and our Hong Kong population in terms of providing them with a range of opportunities on the waterfront. But we're very conscious that there needs to be built into any program a strong social agenda. And indeed, you were asking about roles and responsibilities earlier. I see stress being made within the roles and responsibilities of the social as well as the commercial roles and responsibilities of the authority. Thank you.
Yes. 好，阿 Winnie 有幾句想講，係。
咁我頭先都聽到有問題問，咁幾時成立啦？即係路線圖啦，係咪啊？咁我諗可能用一個簡單啲嘅3部曲去講俾大家聽啦。而家我哋行緊嘅係第一步，就係第一階段嘅公眾諮詢。我哋問緊一啲好原則性啦、理念性嘅東西，咁希望大家可以即係擁抱同一個即係理想啦，係希望係有一個海濱管理局，而認同係需要一個海濱管理局。下一步曲就係即係第二階段嘅公眾諮詢，就係我哋經過呢個第一階段，我哋聽到公眾對於呢個管理局嘅一啲可能係疑慮啦，或者係一啲即係意見緊個，譬如話將來有個管理局嘅一個個 composition 就 board 嘅 composition 啦，佢有頭先都有講過話，譬如話究竟佢個executive function 佢個行政職能會係點？佢係一個政府部門去 support 啦，定係由一個獨立嘅即係executive arm 去幫佢做等等。即係呢一啲我哋希望呢個階段我哋都聽到一啲意見，令到我哋可以去做出一個即係 mainstream 即係個主流嘅方案，去第二階段去再問公眾嘅意見嘅。咁經過第二階段，如果公眾係 clearly 非常明確咁樣去即係支持成立呢個海濱管理局呢，第3部曲其實我哋係需要做立法嘅工作嘅。咁第3部曲立法工作就即係其實咁在座可能譬如做西九管理局都知道，即係都係要有一條法例去叫 enabling legislation 去令到呢個管理局係成立嘅。咁路線圖就即係3部曲啦。咁但係幾耐呢？咁我哋呢個第一階段公眾諮詢就去到即係明年1月初啦。咁我哋會整理咗啲即係意見之後，咁我哋希望盡快推出即係第2階段，就大約希望可能喺4-5月中旬呢個時間啦。咁即係視乎我哋第一階段最終翻嚟嘅意見係點啦。如果一切順利，大家一切都即係大家都係鼎力支持呢一個即係建議嘅話，咁我哋希望可以喺2014年底或者2015年初可以將一條草案交去立法會。咁至於立法會要討論幾耐，呢個我答唔到大家啦。咁即係如果一般嚟講，一條即係條例可能大約1年半咁上下嘅時間去審議咁。我哋相信希望可以2至3年內可以成立到呢個管理局。咁跟住一個問題就我諗其實好多公眾都會話咁係咪即係呢段時間咩都唔做呢？咁其實唔係嘅。咁正如頭先即係我頭先都講啦，其實我哋過去咗9年做咗啲咩呢？咁其實都會繼續去做嘅。我哋見到面前有一啲乜嘢嘅項目可以推展嘅，我哋都會繼續去做。係無論用 quick win 嘅方式啦，無論係同部門嘅即係討論點樣去打通南北點樣去中西貫通，咁即係發展局仍然會係做一個即係統籌喺政府內部去點樣去做一啲海濱嘅工作。咁大致上我希望可以答得到阿 Bonnie 嘅問題，係啦，唔該。
好，阿 Bonnie 仲有冇問題？Yes, Michael.
With respect, I guess the concern that I have as someone who runs an authority that was set up some 5-6 years ago is that if we spend 3 years setting up the authority, the imperatives that presently I think are widely accepted in today's gathering, but also in the 600 or so people who turned up to listen to the experts in the earlier gathering, we will lose a real opportunity. And I guess the challenge that needs to be thrown back to government is there a way to expedite this process? I think things in Hong Kong often take too long, and on that basis there are real decisions that need to be made, real opportunities that will get lost if we have to spend 3 years waiting for the authority to be established. So I guess that's a challenge back to broader government. I don't expect you to be able to answer that, but I do actually think it's something that this has been talked about for a long time. I don't think we can continue to spend the periods of time consulting around the issues, but then having long delays in being able to implement the decision, which is, in my view, widely acknowledged as a necessary step to get us moving.
Michael, let me respond on behalf of the Commission. The Commission shares your concern, and we are urging government to move this, the administration to move this forward as quickly as possible. 3 years is not acceptable to me. It's certainly not acceptable to the Commission, and we obviously got to work this out with the administration. One of the things that I've been thinking about is certainly if there is support and we get phase 2 agreed as well, where we agree the form and the nature of the body, whether there is some scenario where we have an interim organisation or an interim structure, rather like they did with West Kowloon. So you ease your way into things, if you like, and then when the legislation is passed, then you're ready to move into full gear. But all this is something that's high on my agenda. Yes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Other comments? Yes, Roy.
Thank you. There's a considerable degree of common ground in this meeting so far, and certainly reflecting on what others have said, I think it's vital that we go back to the protection of the Harbour Ordinance, and I think its words are to protect our precious natural asset. And I emphasize the natural, and other people have mentioned conservation, and other people have mentioned connectivity. And I'd like to emphasize as one of the objectives for the proposed ordinance is that it does emphasize the protection of our natural assets, the sea, the links, the last island, the last beach, the last hill, like, for example, near Cha Kua Ling and Le Yu Mun on either side. Very important because these are the links. That's part of the connectivity, and that's why you have these human bonds being formed, because of that's these things. So I do agree that the preservation of the natural assets of the sea. I mean, remember, we're also having a biodiversity strategy and action plan going on at the moment, and that will interface with that, and I think they meet together quite well. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Lawrence.
Hello, Lawrence Liao. Just going back to page 16 again. It seems that currently what's on the table in terms of objectives and scope and executive function, what you call executive function, seems to be promoting advocacy. I mean, I agree with all the bubbles there, but I think what's missing, really, you know, when we talk about sustainability, it's economic, social, and environmental. So I think and I understand the desire to, you know, prevent private interests from dominating the harbourfront. I advocate that as well. But I think there is an opportunity for the Harbourfront Committee to learn from cities around the world in how PPP works. It works in Seoul, it works in Shanghai, it works in Vancouver, it works in many, many places that we've been to. So I wouldn't rule that out, but I do appreciate the defense. You know, it reads like a very, very kind of defensive scope right now. You're trying to unlock the roadblocks that currently exist, and you're trying to advocate public participation, accessible, free space for all. Great, that's all great, but you've got 73 kilometers to work with and not enough funding, right? So I'm saying Hong Kong is a market economy. There's nothing wrong with PPP. There's nothing wrong with expanding the executive function of the Harbourfront Committee to involve businesses and other kinds of communities as well. I think that's kind of missing right now, and I think there are good opportunities there. Another point I'd like to make, I have to leave because I sit on a Hong Kong IA Planning and Lands committee like Vincent, and we've talked about quality as well, about the quality of the waterfront. It's very easy to complain what's not done, but I think when and if the Harbourfront Authority is set up, I'd really like to see some definition of what is quality. Inviting people from around the world and learning from others, that's very, very easy. Anyone can do that. But what quality does Hong Kong want? What quality does Hong Kong deserve? And what quality does Hong Kong, or can Hong Kong afford? I think that's a very important discussion that should be open to the public, and that the Harbourfront Authority should drive. The quality of buildings, the quality of space, the quality of the environment, etc., etc. I think that's a very, very key word missing in your mission statement right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. Yeah. 回應啊 Lawrence 啦，如果即係作為建築師，我相信即係多啲參與啦，講多啲啦，因為你即係嗰個質素其實我即係嗰個社會係需要多啲去討論咁即係今天其實仍然有好多人覺得就係話你唔其實我哋而家個海濱都幾好啊有個草地俾人哋行下，咁有啲地方跑下步，咁咪幾好咯咁其實即係大家對於乜嘢係質素嗰個要求咧，其實係都幾唔同嘅咁或者人哋覺得即係而家睇嗰啲電視好好睇咁都得㗎，係咪啊？咁所以呢個係需要有更多嘅即係專業參與同埋即係專業嘅討論咁即係如果社會認為我哋而家嗰個海濱都已經係幾好啦真係會嘅喎，即係我哋落區真係聽到有啲人覺得 OK 喎，而家好滿意點解要搞咁多嘢咧？你搞咁多嘢出嚟，會唔會又變咗第二啲嘢咧？咁不如唔好搞啦咁都會嘅，即係所以你話乜嘢係質素其實我相信即係專業界係需要多一啲嘅參與，所以 Lawrence 我鼓勵你多啲參與唔好走住啦你。
Okay, could I just pick up Lawrence's point about public-private, because I think it's a very important element of what we're hoping to achieve. Virtually all the successful waterfronts around the world have succeeded because they've brought the private sector into partner with the authority or whatever agency has been created. So certainly we see public-private as a very key part of the authority's initiatives going forward. The problem in Hong Kong, as you know, is one of trust. We have an issue in terms of trust, and I say this quite openly. There's this mistrust of the private sector, if you like, and there's all this discussion around collusion and the like. That's a hurdle that the authority and indeed government's going to have to overcome, because certainly I believe we should be involving the private, but we have to overcome this issue of trust.
Thank you. 係前邊灰色西裝呢個係
吳生係劉志成大埔區嘅區議員，咁咧就即係嚟聽下你哋講呢個海濱管理局呢個構思啦，同埋即係話希望搞好香港呢個海濱，即係作為一個景點咧嚟到吸引多啲居民去咧，其實我係一件好事嘅。香港有獨特嘅即係話維港呢個景點，呢個海灣日頭有佢嘅 景，即係話個景色嚇，夜晚有佢嘅景色，但係似乎就唔係好聚焦。頭先有啲朋友都話提到啊，你自己都講過話 Sydney 有個 harbour 呢個Darling Harbour， 咁我喺嗰度住嘅時候，我都有去過，亦都有見到唔同類型嘅表演喺嗰度舉行。咁喺上海嘅時候，亦都去外灘。咁呢啲咧都係真係嗰啲人去到嗰個地點，即係話嗰個國際都會，佢哋都會去感受一下嗰度嗰個氣氛啊咁樣。但係香港咧喺呢方面真係未成氣候咯，未成氣候。咁即係都理解就係、其實我諗好迫切性有需要成立呢個海濱管理局嚟到去根據你哋喺第16、17頁嗰度咧，即係話有個行政嘅架構啊，同埋啲即係可能要有另外一個獨立嘅機構嚟到去管理海濱呢個部分 ，rather than 俾 LCSD 啊。因為其實我哋個維港海嗰個景色咧，真係好靚。咁我其實早幾日咧就關於呢個旺角，即係油尖旺區議會佢哋開會，即係要減少喺嗰度嗰個，即係話因為街頭表演嗰樣嘢對居民嘅滋擾。咁我覺得，如果假設係有呢一個地點，佢哋可以移師過海邊嗰度嚟到去表演，咁就唔需要話日頭或者夜晚都騷擾到喺嗰個居住嘅居民。咁其實呢個係真係一個好正面嘅，亦都係幫到一個喺香港長遠嚟講國際都會加添一個即係話俾世界各地嘅人嚟呢個維港嚟到參觀嘅一個正能量一個正能量，其實係好事嚟㗎。咁當然你哋可能咧，因為過往頭先洪生你都有話 LCSD 你整晒個 park 就唔得㗎啦。咁但係咧，如果係一個獨立嘅一個機構嚟到去管理佢，可能亦都係可以容納到。其實呢啲嘢根本係喺其他國家都係見得到嘅，唔係話一定係禁止嘅。咁所以咧，應該我哋係個眼光要放大、放遠嚟到去睇咯。呢個我嘅意見嚇。
好，多謝劉議員講出你嘅願景嚇。咁好啦，有冇啲未想發表，但係到而家都仲未捨得舉手嘅人呢？前面呢位着西裝呢位啊，有冇意見啊？聽到啲咩？OK， 好，呢位係。
其實聽咗咁多意見啦，咁就過去咧就海濱事務委員會咧就做咗9年嘅 program 啊，咁中間可能你哋遇到好多困難或者好多嘅情況，然後先至開始有呢個構思。咁我想問咧，其實你哋諗個將來個海濱管理局個權限，或者將來個 size 同埋可以做到嘅地方，係咪就係你哋而家想將而家見到嘅問題去磨滅咗佢？舉個例就話你話而家康文署有好多等等條例，建築署有好多等等嘅條例，都好規劃咗你哋一啲構思，好似一成不變。過去我喺區議會都提過，我好怕見到一啲海濱長廊，成日見到嗰嚿三角乜朱古力，即係個海堤嗰啲個欄河，一嚿三角形石屎咁嘅嘅，幾乎一式一樣，好似全香港由九龍到香港都係咁樣樣。我好怕見到呢啲嘢。其實我就係成日想變，但係我又驚一樣嘢喎。任何嘅 authority 咧，當佢變成另外一個機構嘅時候，佢就可能有另外一套嘅專制制度出咗嚟。咁點樣可以避免呢樣嘢嘅存在？ 咁牽涉到咧，其實就除咗呢個持續性，你個持續性就話你而家要想簡單快處理好呢個海濱嘅事務嘅管理，但係你將來又可能會製造一啲另外一啲嘅嘢出嚟，因為你快啊嘛，咁以後咪一套模式咯，一套模式係最好處理啦。呢個，其實我而家少少見到嘅，就係你而家沿住就算係九龍而家喺觀塘嗰度嗰個海濱公園啊，或者其他嗰個公園即係你可能嗰種玻璃嘅欄河形式，可能話派到可能其他嘅地方。但係我其實希望咧，就係香港唔會一式一樣咯，即係話你個海濱每一處有特色嘅地方。咁另外舉個例啦，因為我係嚟自中西區嘅，咁喺中西區海旁嗰度咧，臨尾嗰一段咧，就其實係得條馬路嘅啫，完全係一條馬路。堅尼地城最後一橛得條馬路。咁到其時海濱管理局究竟係管理條馬路啊，定係管理條欄河啊，定係管理乜嘢？呢個要清晰咯。但係原則上我其實唔想改嗰度，因為嗰度咧係我覺得係港島最後一幅好似石砌出嚟嗰個海堤咁樣嘅。咁嗰個我覺得值得保留。我唔想喺出面又加啲唔知咩嘢喺度咁樣。咁但係嗰度咧就變咗唔係人行到去嘅一個貫穿，但車可以行到去。但係我覺得都係可以值得可以咯。咁所以呢個又牽涉到我覺得係一個保育嘅問題咯。就可能講得大家就最主要就話將來嘅管理局，我希望唔會變成一個第二個一個專制機構，即係變成一個比起康文署可能只係寬鬆少少，但係可能又係一式一樣嘅嘢嚇。希望
好多謝呢位中西區嘅朋友嘅意見。呢個剛才嘅意見都帶俾我哋好多好好嘅反省。過去嘅9年嘅工作，我哋都睇到一個進程。其實當我哋做喺西九做第一個臨時嘅海濱長廊嘅時候呢，大家都好興奮，因為我哋嗰一刻係由冇到有我哋喺西九做完之後，喺灣仔嗰個貨物裝卸區搬遷咗之後，做咗一個長達3年期嘅狗公園。咁嗰一刻又係大家好興奮，因為忽然間狗可以享用海濱。咁跟住陸續我哋喺紅磡、尖沙咀、中環咁一路去做嘅時候，咁或者觀塘，咁開始呢就有一個問題浮現咗啦，就係話，我哋嘅海濱長廊係唔係全部都係一式一樣呢？如果73公里嘅海濱長廊都係同一個模式，會唔會變得好沉悶或者好恐怖呢？其實呢個正正就係話咩叫進步？即係我哋由冇到有嘅時候，由填海同唔填海一個咁簡單嘅議題，去到有嘅時候呢，我哋開始諗乜嘢係質素？剛才有位建築師講就係話，我哋有冇一個質素嘅定義呢？好嘅嘢，如果重複100次，可能大家都有覺得唔好嘅咯。咁所以我哋講緊就係話乜嘢叫做多元化？頭先呢位朋友所講就係話譬如你講中西區有啲地方你係覺得好有特色嘅。咁事實上就係話，將來就算個海濱管理局或者而家嗰個海濱事務委員會喺我哋嘅工作裏面，我哋唔係希望去擺一套一式一樣嘅標準，而係同社區合作，同每一區嘅區議會去討論佢哋自己當區關注嘅問題，因為我哋仍然相信就係話喺當區嘅市民係最知道佢哋自己想要乜。同埋佢哋當區有啲咩嘅特色咁所以我哋都希望做到呢，就係話即係每一區都有特色至於你嘅關注就係話，當管理局成立之後，會唔會佢又變成一個專制集團，或者係一個獨立王國 佢嗱呢樣嘢冇人可以保證，但係乜嘢可以制衡呢？就係話市民嘅監察嚇，同埋願景嘅帶動嚇，所以嗰個願景 vision driven， 我哋係相當清楚嚇。嗰個組織要成立就係因為而家現行架構做唔到個願景啊嘛嚇，咁所以必須係願景行先嚇。如果我哋個願景就係話係還港於民，市民屬於嘅海濱嚇，咁呢個願景唔會令到將來嘅管理局變成一個純商業driven 嘅一個機構咁如果我哋嘅願景係話多元化，如果我哋嘅願景係話富吸引力咁呢個管理局唔會令到每一個海濱都係康文署式公園嘅海濱噶嘛咁所以嗰個願景係得到社會嘅認同，而係由願景去帶動整個運作呢，我哋認為係相當重要咁任何機構你都難以保證佢自己成立咗之後會變咗第二樣嘢保證唔到㗎咁但係呢個咪唯有係讓嗰個市民監察。我哋要去諗嘅就係話嗰個問責嘅制度我哋將來要諗嘅就係話究竟佢嗰個管理局嘅董事局成立嘅時候，佢係包含社會唔同界別嘅聲音佢可能佢喺屬下嘅委員會裏面，喺每一區唔同嘅工作裏面，佢係包括咗當區嘅一啲代表嘅一啲聲音咁呢個係其實大家即係呢個係我哋聽咗咁多嘅意見之後有一啲嘅反思但係呢個唔係一個定案。咁我哋都希望繼續係聽到即係大家踴躍關注。頭先呢位朋友實在係令我哋好多反省。Yes. Nick, do you have any response?
I just want to echo what you said. We've had a lot of discussion about, just to reassure the gentleman, lots of discussion around the need for checks and balances, the need for accountability, and the fact that this will have to be built into the terms of reference of the new authority. So we're very conscious of the need to strike the balance, if you like. And essentially we see this being achieved through strong community representation on the authority, and including district council representation, and transparency. We again we see that as a high priority. So we're conscious that we need to be as open as possible, and there is the need for the checks and balances that you've said. I mean, interesting, we tend to be perhaps, if you like, a little overcritical of LCSD. I can envisage situations where the authority might use LCSD as the managing agent for some of its parks, for some of its waterfront. The simple things, if you like, LCSD could continue to do. So I don't see as, if you like, creating a barrier between ourselves and LCSD, but I think we would only use them, or the authority would only use them in relevant cases, if you like.
Okay, thank Nick. 係咁最後一 round 睇有冇人想即係喺最後一 round 把握時間表達意見啊？咁咧，咁如果冇咧，我做少少即係總結先啦。咁聽到即係今日都好高興啦，即係聽到大家嘅好寶貴嘅意見。大家都係我相信嚟得嘅人咧，都係相當關注我哋嘅海濱發展㗎嚇。咁我哋亦都大家表達咗大家對於海濱嘅願景啦、踩單車啦有藝術嘅 create 創意嘅參與啦咁玩水上邊要有嘅活動啦咁有好多嘅我喺度睇到有好多嘅共識，連綿不絕嘅海濱長廊東西暢達、南北貫通即係有吸引力多元化唔要一式一樣咁即係其實大家都表達咗大家嗰個願景，咁呢個其實都清晰嘅。 我哋大家亦都了解咗我哋現在嘅情況、現實嘅情況，我哋而家今天嘅海濱同我哋嘅願景有冇距離啦？嚇！如果冇距離嘅，即係收貨啦，收貨就即係我哋走得啦，係嘛？咁但事實上就係大家睇到呢一個現況同埋願景有距離嚇。佢個設計啊，佢嘅設施、佢嘅管理係同我哋嘅願景係有距離。好啦，咁中間呢一個嘅縫隙嚇，呢個 gap， 我哋點樣去處理呢？嚇，呢個 gap 嘅處理，我哋大家討論咗就係話，可否成立一個單一嘅架構，去一手找住規劃、設計、建造、營運、管理、推廣嚇。咁似乎大家對於呢個意見又唔係有好大嘅意見，即係大家都覺得原則上邊呢都係同意。咁當然啦，就係話點樣做呢個當然唔係靈丹妙藥啦，當然唔係一夜之間成立咗個管理局，聽日瞓醒覺73公里海濱完全解決過去咗9年阻住大家嘅嘢，忽然間消失。好似頭先某位議員講，我相信問題係並唔會消失嚇，而係你有冇一個願景去帶動一班有魄力、有理想嚇嘅一個架構呢，去克服同埋去解決、去面對。今天如果冇呢個管理局嘅時候，各個部門佢哋自己有自己嗰個工作框架呢，好多時碰上一個問題呢，就只有喺嗰個問題前面停低咗嚇，而因為佢冇一個專責呢係去解決嚇，咁所以即係呢個係一個成立管理局嘅理念。當然擔心嘅、關注嘅係有好多。管理局會唔會變成一個即係獨立王國呢？做出嚟啲嘢會唔會一式一樣呢？會唔會又係即係另外一個大白象呢？嚇，咁呢個都希望大家對於嗰個組成啊，點樣去問責啊，點樣向即係點樣吸納社會嘅意見嚇，點樣係與民共議嚇，去帶出個意見。有一個好處就係話，即係呢個管理局嘅成立，其實係經過咗9年嘅一啲即係工作嚇，我哋朝住一個願景，可以話係大家一路碰碰撞撞嚇咁樣去工作。好多時我哋見到嘅問題嚇，見到嘅障礙，其實如果我哋唔行係唔會撞到呢啲障礙嘅，係嘛？即係如果我哋唔做呢，係唔會見到呢啲障礙嘅嚇。咁所以事實上就為咗呢個願景，當我哋去即係起動去出發嘅時候，我哋就碰上呢啲障礙。而要思考嘅就係話，如果我哋遇上障礙，我哋仲要唔要呢一個有活力嘅海濱呢？如果我哋碰上障礙，咁我哋仲要唔要我哋呢一個願景呢？如果我哋碰上呢個障礙，我哋仲要唔要海濱可以踩單車呢？嚇！咁如果我哋係話要嘅時候呢，我哋就要諗計去行嚇。咁所以有呢一個咁樣嘅討論，咁當然今日係一個好初步嘅大家去即係接觸啦。我哋都希望喺日後大家可以繼續參與我哋即係嚟緊嘅一啲活動，第2階段嘅公眾參與嚇。咁我哋都好希望一班關注海濱規劃、海濱發展嘅朋友呢，係繼續即係支持我哋嘅活動。咁今日到此為止。咁睇下 Vinny 有冇補充？Nick
Just to echo what the lady said earlier. I mean, the harbour is the jewel in the crown. It's the soul of Hong Kong, and we all love harbour. It's part of our life. To me, what we're talking about today is all about delivering outcomes. We can't deliver the outcome, which is the quality waterfront that Hong Kong deserves, without, I believe, an authority. And I genuinely believe we do need this delivery agency to produce the outcome, if you like, that we all hope to achieve. Yes, There are challenges in creating the right, establishing the right balance, getting the right transparency, etc., accountability. But I think there's a will, there's a momentum already, and I'm glad that we had the support in the room today. Thank you.
好多謝各位今日出席我哋呢一個公眾論壇。咁最後亦都再提多一次啦，我哋而家仲有少少時間嘅，咁希望各位可以填翻嗰份問卷，交翻俾我哋在場嘅同事。咁我哋都有個少少嘅紀念品，係一個手信封嚟嘅，會俾翻大家做紀念嘅。咁多謝晒各位先 ，thank you。
Thank you。